Let's check in with CoinDesk Gold Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick.
Hey, good morning.
All right, so I understand the Hodlonaut trial is underway in Norway. Tell us a bit about what we know so far.
Hi, yeah. So, as you said, the trial's kicked off this morning in Norway, and essentially what this is the pseudonymous individual, Hodlonaut, sued Craig Wright in Norway to try and preempt Craig Wright suing Hodlonaut in the UK for tweets in 2019 where Hodlonaut basically said that Craig Wright is not Satoshi and may have gone as far as to say that, he was scamming people who believe that he was Satoshi. Basically, what's going on right now is Hodlonaut's hoping to say or secure a court judgment that these statements were not defamatory, and therefore prevent Craig Wright's lawsuit in the UK from moving forward. I'm sorry, Lawrence, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was just saying a lot of moving parts for the kids at home. So if you can kind of explain, first of all, who's Hodlonaut? And also, how does this all fit in? Like exactly, why Norway, things like that. Just kind of, if you could back up here a little bit and explain who all these characters are.
Sure. So Hodlonaut is a pseudonymous Bitcoiner who runs a magazine, Citadel 21. Back in 2019, for those of you who were around back then, he was one of the, I think, starting members of the Lightning Torch, which was a project where users of the Lightning Network were trying to prove how quick and easy it was to send funds from point A to point B by sending a tiny amount of Bitcoin through, I don't know how many people at the end it was, but this was a multi-month process where the same transaction was kind of forwarded over and over again. And as part of this, Hodlonaut's become a fairly big, very prominent voice in the Bitcoin community. Craig Wright, I'm sure we're all familiar. He is an equally prominent name. He's been engaged in a lot of litigation, basically, going after people who say that he is not Satoshi or who he feels have defamed him. He was involved in lawsuits in the UK, in the US, and, results so far have been split, but one of the key things I think is that, a lot of the people who might get sued by Craig Wright may not necessarily have the funds to defend themselves. We saw that with Peter McCormack, who was sued in the UK. He mounted a defense, but at some point said that he didn't have enough funds to continue fighting the litigation. Eventually, the court ruled in Craig Wright's favor, awarded him a single pound in damages. Now, what's going on here is Hodlonaut anticipated getting sued, so he preemptively filed suit in Norway, which is where he lives, in the hopes that a declaratory judgment there would prevent the any suit in the UK, where Craig Wright currently lives, from moving forward, because there is some kind of international treaty where courts in one country, as part of the Eurozone, would agree to abide by the results of a court hearing or of a trial in another country that's part of the same treaty. So, we'll see how this goes. The other thing here is, I guess, Norway's standards for defamation are slightly different from the UK's. In the UK's, it's very easy to secure a judgment on this kind of case, as we've seen. Hodlonaut's hoping that by filing suit in Norway, he's less likely to be found, guilty of having defamed Craig Wright.
So he's going through this whole process, essentially, as you said, it's preemptive to sort of it's almost a legal warfare against Craig Wright to sort of, and who exactly, and I guess the question is, who's funding Hodlonaut's lawsuit? As you mentioned, these things can get costly, and assuming Craig Wright is Satoshi, might have some Satoshi money, I don't know. But so we can guess where he's getting his money from. But where's Hodlonaut getting his money from to withstand this or to pursue it?
Well, he put out a call for donations. I think he raised something like 70 Bitcoin, which is, I have no idea what the conversion rate is right now. But 70 Bitcoin goes quite a while. So I imagine that's enough to at least get him started and continue through the first couple days of the lawsuit, the first couple of weeks. And depending on how things go, I'm sure he'd be able to put out another call for donations if he needs to.
Yeah, and I just want to also add that, I mean, Craig Wright is heavily funded by Calvin Ayre, who is his backer and patron, who is a big e-gaming juggernaut and is also the owner of CoinGeek. Now, I guess another question I had is, how is this case going to be different? What will we learn that we didn't learn from, say, the Peter McCormick case, who was also sued by Craig Wright for defamation, and the case in Florida with the Kleiman estate, where at argument there was, who owned various amounts of mined Bitcoin.
Right. So, well, one of the key things, and we'll see if the case actually plays out this way, but one of the key things is that I think Hodlonaut's trying to find a judgment or a court ruling that Craig Wright is not Satoshi. So, to put to bed once and for all these questions of whether, Wright developed Bitcoin as the pseudonymous creator or not. And I don't think, we're not going to get a sense of who Satoshi is, but the court ruling could actually prove a negative here. So that's one of the key things we're going to be watching out for.